What if everything we know about how we create power in the swing is actually wrong, and following that traditional advice of creating energy from the ground up actually gets us more and more in trouble and creates the majority of our bad shots? Well, that is the contentious view of Mike Bender, famous American coach who's had huge success with many top amateurs and professionals. So in this video, we're going to have a look at Mike Bender's swing model, and I am sure that I'm going to share a few drills with you, which I am sure are going to be of huge benefit to the majority of club golfers. Let's have a look. So Mike Bender is a famous American coach based in Florida who is always in the kind of top 100 American coaches, and often in the top 5. His influences were the normal kind of American coaches' influences. So Ben Doyle, so what's that? The Golf Machine, Ledbetter, Mac O'Grady, and I'm sure many others. So, you know, what we see with Mike Bender is a lot of the usual, kind of stuff we see from people who kind of really idolize the kind of the Hogan look swings. But I think the thing that is most notable about Mike Bender is the way that he sees movement sequence and how we create power in the swing, and also how the club is released. So that's what we're going to focus on today, and we're going to go through 2 or 3 of his core drills, which I am sure are going to make a big difference to a lot of amateurs' games. Let's have a deeper dive. So the traditional view of the golf swing is that the energy in the swing is built from the ground up. So much like any kind of kinematic sequence in any sport, we build the energy from a motion of the feet, the hips, which passes the energy out into the arms and club. So we often use the analogy of a throw, don't we? And we discuss how there is that forward shift, the rotation, and then that launch of the arm last, that kinematic sequence. And you would see that in any kind of throwing sport. And Mike Bender, he's well researched. He knows that is actually what happens. But his point is what we try and do and what actually happens can be completely at odds with each other. So in trying to move our body, leave the arms up high, and then sort of have the arms come through later, in his mind just creates utter havoc. And what we should be trying to do is not use the sort of bigger muscles to power the swing, but actually use the body to stabilize the faster pulling down of the arms.
I feel my arms and hands going, but I've never seen anybody in golf do this. I've never seen anybody keep their hips stagnant. So even though I'm going to think of using my arms and hands and accelerating the club, my lower body's going to look like this. It is going to move. Okay, and it's going to move, and as my arms are coming down and the club is releasing, my body's going to turn through and it's going to blend together.
Now, of course, he's not saying that the body isn't going to move at all, but his point being that the body will react to that, and the role of the body is to stabilize that pulling on the club. So the club is up here, and we are to pull down absolutely as hard as we can, and the body is going to react in advance, which is a slightly odd thing, isn't it? But the body will, preempt that hard pull on the handle. It will stabilize, push back against the floor, and we get all that kind of speed of the club through our arms. Because the opposite of that, and certainly in Mike Bender's mind, would be trying to do too much with the body, twisting, turning, moving the shoulders, and really getting the wrong kind of torques and forces on the club. And certainly, if you've played the game for any length of time, you would know that that's a real possibility, isn't it? So accurately speaking, we can measure these things now, can't we? We have 3D motion tracking, we have force plates, so we know that there is that kinematic sequence, and then we definitely do move from the ground up. We move from proximal to distal segments, from in to out. We know that is the thing. But do we do that as a reaction to pulling on the handle, or do we consciously move the body and then swing the club? Well, I mean, I can tell you from owning some force plates, if you really try and max out loads of force through the floor and you don't connect it to the pulling on the club, it is a waste of time. It's a whole load of effort, and it's probably going to be more harm than good. It's certainly going to hurt after a while. Everything we do with the body needs to transfer into the handle and out into the club head and obviously onto the ball.
If I make a swing like this and I hit golf balls like that without really using or turning my shoulders or my hips, I can hit a 7-iron 160 doing that. And then when I make a swing like this, I can hit it 170. So the rotation and the turning and the shifting of the weight gets me about 10 extra yards.
So it does make sense then, doesn't it, that there's no point doing anything with the body that doesn't ultimately lead us to a better motion on the club and getting more speed and force into the handle and out into the club head. Okay, so let's have a look at some of Mike's drills around this concept then. So all these drills are designed to get that speed into the arms and disconnect the arms from the body in many ways, so that the body isn't trying to get involved in transition. Remember, he wants your arms to lead and the body just to stabilize. So drill number one, very simple. You're going to hold the club at the head end, and the aim being to pull down and stop hard, but not letting the club head pass, so you end up with that sense of shaft in line or a little bit of shaft lean, so we don't have that kind of release pattern. So it's a pull and stop, and the pull and stop bit is that idea that you accelerate the handle and then the handle has to slow down to get the speed into the head. And as I do that, I mean, I would personally want to feel how my legs are responding to that. So far from sort of being stiff and rigid and just pulling the arms, I'd want to feel some kind of knee motion to brace it, certainly if we want to get some vertical force. So back to his drill, pull the arms down and don't do anything with the body. Drill number two then, I think is a brilliant exercise, particularly if you are that golfer who has too much of this transverse rotation, that's rotating around that horizontal axis and moving the swing in this way. This is a brilliant drill to really quieten down that motion and get more force sent down the target line. So he would use a driver. I've got a broom because it sort of sticks in the ground a bit more and it was lying around. So the idea is you'd hold your sort of driver like so in your lead arm and just get a sense of what it's like to swing the club with your trail arm underneath. And of course, the big thing with this drill is it allows us to pull down and pass with that trail arm and club, but it wouldn't allow us to kind of spin, turn the shoulders in this manner. Now, Mike would have you do that, quite passively with the body. I mean, again, if the body's going to respond in advance, I'd want to see a bit of vertical force there. I'd want to see a little bit of bending of the knees and pushing against the floor as you pull the club that way. Of course, what we're really trying to avoid is any of this kind of rotation. Now, if I do that and just allow my lead kind of knee and hip to pull back behind me as I swing through, you'll see that actually looks like quite a lot of rotation. But that's the difference. It isn't rotation in this manner powering the swing. It is me pulling the club past me while this foot reacts to push the hip back, and ultimately the club ends up traveling in that direction and not kind of dragging the club across the ball to the left. And that looks, feels entirely like I'm pulling while staying face on. But you'd probably agree, it may not be perfect, but it does look kind of more like a conventional swing. And certainly better than some of my swings in the past where I've tried to create all this force with my hips and shoulders, etc. So I think there's a lot in this idea of creating speed with your arms and having your body react in advance. Okay, so those are the main features of, or the most contentious features of Mike Bender's swing model. He is, of course, a well-rounded, well-respected coach. He has these kind of swing stations that he helps people kind of build the right motion of the club. But that aspect of pull the arms and sort of drag the club or push the club past you, I think is fascinating. Where do I stand with all that? Well, I mean, I think that would probably, those drills we went through today, I think would probably help the vast majority of golfers. Certainly 80% of golfers would get better by doing that. It's definitely worth giving it a go. Can you pull and swoosh the club while staying face on? You might get a different interaction of handle and feet, knees and hips. But ultimately, what Mike isn't mentioning there is the contribution of vertical forces through the swing. I mean, maybe he's suggesting they're just implied in that bracing motion. But what about lateral forces as well? Surely as we pull down, we want to be moving in that direction. I mean, there is a contribution from that lateral force. We get the arms dropping somewhat on their own. We get this frontal plane rotation as well. So, it's not quite as simple as just pull your arms down and have your feet kind of brace themselves. Anyway, moving on, if you're watching this video and you've seen some of my previous stuff on Pete Cowan, you might recognize there's some real similarities in the way that they kind of view the world, but they're definitely not the same. So in my next video, link down below, I'm going to do a comparison between the two and try to kind of draw out the key distinctions. But before I see you next time, please give those drills a go. I think they're absolutely brilliant. And keep practicing. Good luck. Play well.